Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited today. We have a special guest in the house. What's really cool is in our backyard of sunny San Diego, California, we got Jason Lee in the house. What's up, man? How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Yeah, I appreciate you jumping on. So what's cool is, first off, you're 26 years old, which is awesome. So kudos to you for everything that you've built up at this point. But some of the highlights here is that you've built up a multifamily brokerage that you guys are crushing it, bringing in about 2 million or so a year, which is awesome, making a bigger impact. Obviously, you actually have acquired 17 properties in the last year and a half, which is huge, and up to 119 units at this point, about $250K a year bringing in, which is incredible. So we gotta, take all that bits and pieces apart. But for anybody out there that doesn't know like who you are, where you're from, what you're up to, do you mind just giving that 30,000 foot view?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so my name's Jason. Come from a pretty humble background. I was actually born in Seoul, Korea. My dad was in the army and I was there for the first 7 years of my life, and my mom actually didn't speak any English because they met in Korea. So come from a Korean background and speak both English and Korean at home, and moved to California when I was 7 years old, and then was there up until high school. And then my life really changed when I got into San Diego State and got into real estate down here. I met my old broker mentor down here when I was still a junior in college, when I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. My parents wanted me to kind of force me to be a doctor.
Such an Asian background.
I know.
Jennifer, my significant other, she's Vietnamese, and they definitely, try pushing either a pharmacist or doctor. It's so funny.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the main reason why is because my aunt and uncle were both really successful dentists and anesthesiologists. So they saw that and they're like, oh, well, you should do the same thing, because my parents weren't nearly as successul. So they saw that, wanted me to be a doctor. I really hated that. Everything about science. So that
whole idea, you're like, nah.
Yeah, no, I was no way. And then, I started interning at a multifamily brokerage down here in San Diego. And from then, that's when my whole kind of life changed and got into real estate full time, went full on into it. When I was a senior, I was still going to school full time, making 12 hours of cold calls on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Took full-time classes on Tuesday, Thursday. And then I had a social media marketing gig on the side to support myself while I made no money my first year. So yeah, that's my story.
I love it. And you were doing this in college, right?
Yeah, I started in college.
Okay, cool. Which brokerage were you interning with? And that was for a full year?
Yeah. So I was there for 3 years total. And then I got my license and then started as an associate, but I was there for about 3.5 years. It was at South Coast Commercial up in down in Point Loma area.
Cool. I love it. So why real estate first off? Did you have any friends, family do it? What inspired you to do real estate, bro?
Yeah, no family. When I got to San Diego State, I networked with a lot of people, and I saw that a lot of my friends, their most successful families that they came from were all had rental property or were in some sort of real estate business or
Yep.
Yeah, they all had property. So I was like, there's something here. And I just joined the real estate society on campus. And then I ended up basically meeting just professionals in the area. It was funny. Like the first networking event I ever went to at my old school, it was a 20 students and 20 professionals event where it was a speed dating thing where you're at a table for 2 minutes each.
Yep.
And every conversation went terrible because I knew nothing. It was my first ever event. And then that's where I met Brian, the head of South Coast, and kicked it off. But it's kind of funny how fast it kind of went after I wanted to search what I wanted to do.
Yeah, success definitely leaves clues, right? So you started working at South Coast, you started doing the internship, you stayed there for a few years. What were you doing on that regular basis? You were doing a lot of cold calling and kind of getting your feet wet. What other tasks were you doing to kind of sharpen, the sort of where you're currently at today?
Yeah, besides reaching out to people and prospecting, I was also analyzing a lot of properties. So I was sending a lot of properties to potential investors. I was doing a lot of underwriting to make sure it was a good deal and it made sense. I was always trying to put buyer and seller together. So I was honestly a dot connector. I was trying to find buyer sellers, put them together and make sure the deals made sense. So that's like all you do all day long when you first start as a broker or an agent.
I love it. And then, so what inspired you to actually branch out on your own?
That's a great question. I think honestly, the first reason why was because there was about 25 people at my company doing the same thing, and everyone was kind of stepping on each other's toes. There's too many people doing the same thing, too many cooks in the kitchen. So I think once I really got going and my career started taking off and I started doing a lot of deals, I started rubbing the older guys the wrong way because, as someone that's younger grows and does more deals, and if an older guy didn't talk to a client for a long, long time and I did a deal with them, they got all pissed off and said I was stepping on their toes. So that happened like 2 or 3 times. So it was more of like a drama thing. And even though the people at the company the owners were on my side, I was just sick of like getting called into like the principal's office, it felt like, for just doing my own business. And reason number 2, I just wanted to start my own thing. I've always wanted to have my own brand, my own company. I wanted to create my own like company culture, and the team that I've built at JLM Real Estate is phenomenal. Like we're all friends, best friends. We all enjoy working together. We all work as a team. So I just feel like it was the right move to do.
Let's talk about culture for a second. It's so important with any business, especially being the owner and the leader within your group. You have 9 agents currently. You have an assistant as well. What does the culture look like in your guys' office?
Yeah, so everyone's really hungry. Everyone's excited to be in real estate. Everyone's excited to meet new people and help clients and facilitate transactions. So I think everyone has the same vision in mind. We all want to be financially free. We all want to own rental property. We all want to be successful agents. And enjoy doing it. So everyone has fun. Everyone collaborates. We're always, doing team meetings. We're always seeing how we can put buyer and seller together. We're seeing what marketing strategy we can use to get our sellers the highest price possible for their properties. So we're always collaborating, always running ideas about each other. Everyone speaks their mind, which is amazing. So I think everyone really enjoys being at the office. And that's like a huge thing that a lot of companies are missing today with the whole work from home thing. I think being in the office is really important.
Yeah. And you guys are located where?
We're in Bankers Hill, right by downtown San Diego.
Okay, nice. And as far as the market goes, I think we've seen a big correction last spring, followed by nonstop kind of pullbacks throughout the year. What have you guys done to kind of just adjust and be able to keep serving the clients, being that middleman person?
Yeah, I think the big shift was that there's a lot less buyers now. Before, there were a lot more buyers looking to chase the same deal. I think, as you know, in San Diego, the inventory is always really low. The sellers have all the power here because most of them aren't in any sort of pain in multifamily, and they have a lot of equity. These are like family-owned trophy properties passed down from generation to generation. So it's different than most markets. So I feel like when there's not that much stress, even though rates go up, even though times get slower, when volume goes down total, of course, it gets harder as a broker. So the way we've adjusted is we've honestly just raised our KPIs. We've, hit more calls, set more meetings, try to meet new people, more networking events. So I think just working harder makes it happen because deals close every single day in residential and commercial. So no matter how slow it gets, there's always people looking to buy and sell.
I like it. So speaking of buying, you've been picking up a bunch of properties the last couple of years, right? When did you actually pick up your first property? And what did that look like?
Yeah. So my first property was during the pandemic, actually, with 2020. That was a 2-unit property in Normal Heights. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in the front and a studio house in the back with a single car garage on the left side in the front, and then a really big 2-car garage standalone in the back. And basically, I followed up with the owner a bunch of times, ended up getting inherited by the son up in San Jose. And he had a property manager down here that listed the property. I called the property manager directly. He represented me. I was in contract at $750,000, but ended up needing a whole new roof and a whole new foundation. So negotiated the price down to $630. Put about $250K into the renovations and also another $200 to add like 2 ADUs to the property. So it became 4 units. I was into the property for a little over $1 million and it appraised 2 years ago for about 2.1 million.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I love it. We ended up getting a fourplex right in North Park, right when COVID all began. And it was a hell of a year to, turn everything over and make sure people were out. But it's been a huge blessing, just like yours as well. So cool, man. I love it. Any learning curves on that particular deal?
So many. I think the biggest learning curve failures that I had, first one was definitely construction. I think I knew absolutely nothing about construction until I bought my first property. And
sure,
that was like the biggest construction project I could have inherited. While at the same time, the same contractor that was screwing me over, I put him on like 3 other projects I bought like a few months after. And he was on 4 projects and he wasn't getting anything done. And basically I lost like $80,000 before he like just took my money and ran because he just couldn't handle the projects, and his accounting was awful, paying his guys too much. And it was a nightmare. He was like a guy from like Tijuana, I think, or something like that. Yeah. So when you hire someone, make sure they have their license, make sure that their numbers don't seem too good to be true. The sad thing was he was a referral from like kind of a client. So I trusted the referral, but it ended up being the worst referral of all time. So another lesson is don't trust all your referrals, always double check everything. And also I think just the timing of everything, I think we all underestimate the time it takes to execute a business plan when you're buying a property and getting it up to speed and stabilizing it. So I think my projections were way too optimistic, and I definitely learned the hard way.
What were you anticipating on time frame wise?
I was anticipating to renovate the front house and the studio. I mean, the good thing was like right after closing, the owner actually agreed to give him notices in escrow, and it ended up being a longer escrow because they wanted more time for their exchange. And the building was actually vacant at close. So that was great, but
that's huge. Yeah,
it was huge, but it still took me like 5 or 6 months to do the construction. It should have taken like 2 or 3. That's what I projected. And okay. I would have been right if I had done it correctly, but I just did it the wrong way. But
well, it's just like, if you had the crew, if you've worked with the crew before, if all things, worked out like we hope, but, on the first time with this new crew and so many other unforeseen things, I think it's still great turnaround time at the end of the day. And a lot of people, like, we beat ourselves up, especially when you get more experience and you're like, damn, I can knock these out in like 2 months now. Right. Versus I think just the key point there, obviously, of course, is like, hey, give that extra buffer. If you think it's going to be 3 to 6 months, why don't you give yourself like 8 or 9 just in case, right? Run the numbers for the worst case scenario and, let's hope for the best, right?
Exactly. You never know what's going to go wrong. So it's always better to have a contingency in there for sure.
Yeah. Any other learning curves? How was the financing as well?
The financing was pretty attractive. I mean, I worked with a small bank here in San Diego, and they offered a 30% down financing, but they also gave me all the money for the construction costs. So I didn't have to come out of budget or out of my pocket for the rehab. So that was really attractive. So
which bank was that?
That was Axos Bank here in San Diego. Yeah, Axos. So they're a great bank. They're like a medium-sized bank, not super institutional. So they did a lot of my loans on my bridge loan deals, but it was like a 5% rate at the time, interest only. I'm like for 2 years fixed, but now that's gone way up. But
sure,
back then it was more attractive.
Yeah. Cool. So after that first property, you turned it into a fourplex. You ended up getting several projects right afterwards. What did that kind of, turn into? You basically, at the brokerage office, you start turning, that into a real system that, hey, if I can take down some of these properties, I will, right?
Yeah. I mean, at my brokerage, I've worked with so many buyers and given out, dozens and dozens of good deals to people. But when I finally had some capital to invest on my own, I finally just took a jump and did it, because wealth is built by investing, not through making commissions or making even any sort of day job, whatever it is, because Uncle Sam's going to bite you in the ass. So
you don't want that one-time pay. You want that monthly pay, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You want to build the passive cash flow, and it compounds over time. So I saw that that's where all roads led to. And, just seeing and studying like my most successful investors that I've worked with and learned from, they've all done that the right way. They all made money in their day job and invested all of it into real estate and have done extremely well. So yeah, that's why I just wanted to go from just being a broker servicing people to also, being an owner of my own deals.
Well, I think it's so crucial and important, especially in your space, though, too, as you're helping people, serving them to really speak from experience, right? And like walk the talk, right? So you can actually, say like, hey, I've invested in this area. I know these properties. I picked up these properties just last year. So you can actually speak from experience, and that probably builds a tremendous amount of credibility for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. There's a lot of brokers out there that sell property that don't own any property, and it's tough to truly know what you're talking about until you go through all the failures of owning a property yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Talk to me. At this point, it started off with smaller deals. When did you get the first big one? And how many units was that? What did that look like?
Yeah, I'd say my first year was all like smaller deals, like 1 to 2 million. And then I got my first like $4.5 million deal during the pandemic in 2020. So that was a 16 unit building in El Cajon on Leslie Road. That was an off market transaction. One of my friends who's an agent had the seller and I had a buyer for it. So yeah, that was my biggest transaction up until that time. But now, I mean, most of my transactions are in the 3 to 5 million range. So the good thing as a commercial real estate broker is you grow your clients. So as your clients grow, the purchase prices also grow. So a lot of repeat business as people grow.
So was that, you said you had a buyer for that? You didn't take that down yourself?
No. That was as a broker. Yeah. So that was a buyer that I represented.
Okay. So talking just on the investment side. So,
got it. Yeah. Sorry about that. So I started buying a lot of fourplexes in the beginning, duplexes, and then I sold them and did a 1031 exchange into bigger assets. So the biggest asset I own today is a 16 unit building near San Diego State on 70th Street. And then I also own an 11 unit property, Crown Point, close to the bay there. And then rest of them are like 7, 8, 9 unit properties.
Okay, cool. And those are all just smaller unit ones?
Yeah. I mean, most of my properties now range from 7 to 16 units, all of them.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have one property management for all of them, or how does that work?
I have 2 companies that I work with.
Okay.
Yeah, two third-party managers.
Okay. And then are you doing any short-term rentals at all out here?
I'm not, no. I dabbled in it a little bit, but it's like when you do the math, unless you're doing it yourself, if you're doing it yourself, it makes a lot of sense, but I don't have the time to run it myself. And all the management companies, charge like 15 to 25% of the revenue. So it just doesn't make sense for me.
Talk to me, what, somebody just getting started, looking to get their feet wet into multifamily, like what are the top 3 things that they should really focus on and spend more time educating themselves on?
Yeah, on the investing side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking to be a multifamily real estate investor, I'd say the number one thing is you have to understand your downside and your upside. I think a lot of people, when they first start, they don't really assess the market well enough. So what I try to preach to my clients is like, you got to know exactly what properties are selling for in your area. Like if you're looking in North Park and you want to buy a property in that area, you want to make sure you understand the value so you don't overpay, because a lot of the listings on the market that sit or that come live are usually, priced pretty high, a lot higher than what I would purchase it at. So I just always make sure that my clients buy at market value or below market value. So that's number one. Number 2 is I would make sure that there's a clear path to cash flow, either cash flow day one or upside by increasing the rents to cash flow, because the main reason why people lose properties and properties go back to the bank is because they couldn't pay their mortgage. So if your property is paying off the mortgage and cash flowing, then it's pretty tough to lose that property, especially in a market like San Diego where the rents are very, very strong. And we've seen, over and over again, increasing. And in 2008, 2010, even in like the worst of times for real estate, rents were still very steady. They felt like 0.8% or something like that. And back then there was also a lot more housing available. Right now, the housing crisis, 13 years later is way, way, way worse in San Diego. So yeah, if you buy a cash flowing property in a good market, very hard to lose. And then my last point I'd say is just make sure you have a good team around you. I'd say before you buy your first property, you have to have a good lender, a good broker, a good general contractor, good lawyer, good accountant. You got to have a solid team of service providers around you that are going to help you, grow your portfolio and elevate your journey. So I think that's a big mistake I made in the beginning, is not having a good enough team before you strike on your first deal.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And, sometimes people either make that mistake of not having any of this stuff and don't they're just going and they're very amateur, right? And totally making every mistake under the sun. And then others get too analytical and feel like they need every little single detail to the T lined up, 3 lawyers on the back burner and, 5 different contractors to get, several different bids. I would just stress, don't overanalyze it, take action, especially if you're in a high market, a very competitive market with savvy other investors, then you're going to need to train yourself to move quick, right? Because those that are actively seeking are going to move quick and they're going to get the deals. I appreciate all that feedback. Cool, man. I love it. So what do you have planned, for the future? What does this year look like for you and the team? What are you guys looking to accomplish? This year, yeah, I'm honestly focusing this year on trying to give back. I'm trying to help the newer investors, beginner investors kind of get over that hump, gain that confidence to buy their first property. So trying to, make content, trying to reach out to younger people that have the capital to start, but don't know how to really do it. So I'm really focusing on the beginner to semi-intermediate investors this year. As a team, I just want to help my guys do as many deals as possible. They're all younger. They're all 1 to 2 years in. So they're all very new. Some are really starting to pick up and crush it, but I really want them to all succeed. And yeah, if all that happens, then, it's been a good year. I love it. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it. How can all the listeners get a hold of you and reach out? Yeah, I appreciate it. Best 2 channels that I'm the most active on are my YouTube channel at Jason Joseph Lee, and then also my Instagram as well. Is same thing. My full name, Jason Joseph Lee. I love it. I appreciate you jumping on today. Excited to just see everything that you've built up thus far and where you guys are going. So congrats to all the success. Guys, definitely reach out to Jason. And if you guys want to get a hold of me, you can always do so on Instagram. It's Brandon Elliott Investments. Otherwise, facebook.com/Brandon Elliott Investor. And then as always, if you guys are looking to truly get educated on credit, Credit Counsel Elite is helping business owners get up to $500,000 every 6 months at 0% interest. If you're looking to learn more about that, you can check out www.creditcounselelite.com. That's creditcounselelite.com. There's a quick 10-minute video on there. You can fill out an application afterwards and see if it is a good fit, be able to schedule a call with us. Appreciate your guys' time. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. You'll get the newest notification every single Monday when the new episode airs. And as always, leave that 5-star review. Greatly appreciate all the love and support. And we will see you on the next one. Till next time, guys. God bless. Appreciate it, Jason.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.